What a week it's been for the stock price of Nvidia. Absolutely explosive move on Thursday of this week. So given how far the stock has come, can it really move higher from here, or is now the time to think about a sell-off? Lots of focus in the last 24 hours on Nvidia and the impact the Metaverse could have on its stock. More about that in a second. It's been trending higher anyway. If we take this out to the have a look at the March 2020 lows, you can see the size of the move. The stock is up about sixfold now from where it was back then. So as usual in this video, I'll talk about some of the recent news, why we've seen this massive move on Thursday for the stock. Then we'll come back onto the charts and see, well, just how much higher could it go? Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought we'd do an update on Nvidia because it's had this massive move this week. We'll talk more about why and the Metaverse and everything else. It has really just continued the trend that has been in place for quite some time. A great performer, but where next? So as usual in this video, I'll talk a bit about the main news that we've seen driving the stock. We'll look at the levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the platform and take a look at the technicals. As usual, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could click on subscribe, it does help support the channel and it means we can continue to push out lots of different content throughout the week. Right, let's get into it and take a look at Nvidia in a bit more detail. So what does the company do? It designs graphics processing units, GPUs, as well as chips for the mobile and automotive markets. And we know, that's been quite in focus over the last 12 months because we've seen quite the shortage of chips. Lots of car manufacturers, for example, have been down to rein back their manufacturing process due to the lack of chips out there. But this is Nvidia's business. The company was founded back in 1993 and went public, so you could buy shares in Nvidia from 1999. So it's been available as a publicly traded company for more than 20 years now. But the big news this week, we saw a massive jump on Thursday of this week on some analyst comment saying that its technology is going to play a key part in the development of the Metaverse, which is a phrase that we've heard, I think, a lot about in the last couple of weeks, thanks to Facebook. And many people see this as the next iteration of the internet. An analyst comment has come out and said because of the products from Nvidia, it's going to play a massive part in the development of this new Metaverse. So, of course, when looking at stock markets, we're not just looking at the value of individual shares now. A lot of the movements of stock prices are a bet on future potential. Look at the growth of Tesla over the years. And I think this is clearly the big reason why we've seen the move in Nvidia this week. To wind our clock back a bit and look at their latest earnings, quarter two earnings came in slightly better than expected. They weren't really blowing it out of the water. Earnings came in at $1.04 per share back in August, and the market was expecting around about $1 per share. But it was really this analyst note, this analyst commentary from the investment bank Wells Fargo that really has jacked up expectations about how the Metaverse could potentially help and explode even further Nvidia's business. So Wells Fargo raised the price target of Nvidia to $320. And normally, if we look at analyst research, it tends to be fairly conservative and all in the same sort of region. So Wells Fargo really were putting their head above the parapet here with this aggressive target. Saying that, the stock did jump pretty near to it on this move. So where are we with the share price? The share price is at all-time highs. It has been making all-time highs for some time, but just for this year, just for 2021, Nvidia stock is up by 130%. An absolutely fantastic performance in what has been a great year for markets anyway. Before we look at the charts, let's take a look at some of the levels to watch for Nvidia. So for me, the obvious next hurdle is the all-time high hit so far, hit earlier this week. That's at $314 for the stock. After that, I think we're just looking at psychological levels, so 325, 350, those sort of zones. On the downside, lots of support left because we've seen such a sharp move. So for me, if we did see a deeper sell-off, 250 to 270 for the stock is an interesting zone to see if we get a bounce. But as usual, to put some color on these numbers, let's jump on the chart and take a look at the technicals. So as usual, let's start with our longer term view. So I've got the stock now going back to March 2020. We know that plenty of stocks, of course, most of them got hit during February and early March 2020 as the coronavirus pandemic spread. Since then, we've seen this recovery, this trend that's been in place. I've put a 20-day moving average on here. It's worked well with Nvidia, I think, because when it does trend, we get quite decent swings. So we had a buy signal back here in May of 2020 as the stock moved through about $145. Then, of course, we get a sell signal if the price falls back below the moving average. The latest signal came just in the middle of October. So actually about 3 weeks ago, as the stock again moved above the moving average, above $212, around about there. And here we are above 300 for the stock. I mean, it's a massive move higher, clearly. The moving average at the moment is sitting at $240. So what that means is it would take a slide through $240 for the moving average to give a sell signal. And I think perhaps that moving average will become a bit more interesting if we were to see the stock sell off from here. Do we see the moving average act as a form of sort of floating support? If we take a look at the RSI down here at the bottom, 10-day RSI, and you can see, not surprising, given the size of the move, just how extreme that RSI is. I've gone back nearly 2 years here, and this is the most extreme reading we've seen for the relative strength index over those 2 years, which again, given how far the stock has moved, it's not surprising it's been dragged to such an extreme reading. As I often say, in strong trending markets, RSIs can give signals a bit too early, perhaps very early. So I wouldn't put all the weight at the moment on the RSI and think, well, we're going to see the stock fall back from here because the RSI is so overbought. Clearly it is overbought. It's perhaps, again, a bit more interesting if we do see the stock fall back and we get an RSI buy signal, like back here in early October, which proved pretty good. But for now, I think it is all about the price. So let's go back and look at this trend from March 2020. So at the moment, that trend line is coming in around $165, $170. That's not too relevant when the stock is trading at $300. So, but even if the stock was to fall massively from here back towards 200, that trend is still in place. So from a technical analysis point of view, from a pure trend following point of view, it's definitely looks like a buy the dips stock for now. Let's zoom in and have a look at the last couple of months. So some of the levels I would watch if the stock started to fall, the old highs just before it broke out and raced away again. So they're coming in around $230 for the stock. So I think if we took a bigger hit from here, let's watch to see how it performs if it does slide back to $200, $230, that sort of area. Let's pick up on this latest trend. Let's take a look at the short-term chart. So even on this shorter-term trend, which is perhaps one more for traders rather than investors, I've got it going back to the beginning of October, you can see just how over the last week or so, it has massively accelerated away from this shorter-term trend. So again, I think if we were to see it fall below, back below $300 from here, I'd be watching this whole 260 area, the support briefly in November the 2nd, November the 3rd, see what happens. But I think however we cut it at the moment, it's had an explosive move. Yes, it's perhaps expecting too much to expect another explosive move up from here. So perhaps the more interesting opportunity is if we see just some of this enthusiasm start to calm off, and we see the stock pull back. And for me, like I say, the sort of zone I'd be watching, first of all, around 260 for the stock. We'll come back to it and we'll see if we do get a sell-off or whether it just continues to move ever higher. That's it for this update after an incredible week, really, for Nvidia. We'll come back to it in the future. We'll see if it can build on these gains, what happens next. But for now, we'll leave things there. So from me, David Jones and Capital.com, good luck with your investing. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.